The person who never lied, in the end, lost everyone. Elaine is 67 this year. She lives alone in a light blue house at the end of Oak Street with roses planted in front, but no one has ever seen her pick them. She taught English at the local high school for 35 years and retired 3 years ago. Her students remember her as a very strict but very fair teacher. She never gave grades higher than a student's actual level, and she never said anything insincere just to please parents. Her comments never included soft phrases like "has potential," she would write. "This child does not study and does not turn in homework. If this continues, he will fail next year." Parents didn't like her, but the principal did, because she told the truth. After retiring, Elaine brought that same honesty into her neighborhood. The community she lives in is called Fairview Estates. There are more than 40 households, mostly middle-class families. The children attend the same elementary school, and the adults shop at the same grocery store. There is a delicate balance among neighbors, friendly, but not close. Helpful, but never asking too many personal questions. Elaine broke that balance, not on purpose. She simply didn't know how to pretend. Other neighbors would say, "Oh, you're so brave. He'll be fine." Elaine looked at the wound and said, "That needs a bandage and antiseptic. If you don't clean it, it will get infected." The mother thought she was cold, but she was right. Mr. Garcia across the street hung a new flag on his garage. The colors were harsh. Others said, "Looks great, very patriotic." When Elaine walked by, she said, "The color doesn't match your house. But if you like it, that's what matters." Mr. Garcia's smile froze for a full 2 seconds. She wasn't wrong, but no one thanked her. Here over time, everyone reached an unspoken agreement. Never ask Elaine any question that requires a real answer. But the moment she became truly famous happened at the annual neighborhood barbecue. Every last Saturday of August, Fairview Estates holds a barbecue at the community park. People bring dishes, drinks, folding chairs. Kids run on the grass. Adults chat over beer. The atmosphere is relaxed, filled with polite phrases. "Love that potato salad. You look amazing. Have you lost weight?" This is the best block party of the year. No one cares whether these are true. They are social lubricant, the small lies that allow 40 not-so-close people to spend an afternoon together. Last year, Elaine attended. She brought a dish of baked beans, wore clean khaki pants, and a light blue polo shirt. She looked like an ordinary, slightly serious elderly woman. Halfway through the gathering, the hostess, also the organizer, Karen, approached with a glass of wine. Karen, in her early 40s, was the most popular person in the neighborhood. Always smiling, always aware of who had a baby, who changed jobs, whose dog ran away. She was the kind of person who remembered your birthday and brought homemade cookies. Karen had 2 drinks, her cheeks slightly flushed, and sat beside Elaine. "Elaine," she said warmly, "I'm so glad you came. How are you liking retirement?" It was small talk. Standard, harmless, not meant to be answered seriously. But Elaine answered seriously. "Retirement is lonelier than I expected," she said. "I miss the structure of work. To be honest, I don't feel very connected to most people in this neighborhood." Karen's smile trembled. She hadn't expected a real answer, especially not one like that. Karen said, trying to recover the mood. "Well, you just need to get out more." "Have you thought about joining the book club?" Elaine looked at her. "I went to your book club twice last year," she said. "The first time, you talked for 40 minutes about a book none of you had finished. The second time, you spent the whole evening gossiping about Mrs. Davis's divorce. That's not a book club. That's a gossip circle with wine." Several people nearby heard it. They stopped what they were doing. The air tightened. Karen's face turned from pink to deep red. She opened her mouth, tried to smile, but couldn't. "Elaine, that's—" she began, but Elaine wasn't finished. "And since you asked," Elaine said, her voice calm, but every word clear, "you always ask people how they're doing. But you don't actually listen to the answers. You're waiting for your turn to talk. I've noticed that, for 3 years, the entire barbecue fell silent. Not the kind of silence where people are still talking quietly. This was the kind where even the children stopped, where you could hear the grease dripping onto the coals." Karen stood up. She didn't cry or shout. She simply held her glass and walked into her house, closing the door behind her. 15 minutes later, her husband Mark came out and told everyone, "Karen has a headache. She's going to rest. No one believed it. For the rest of the day, no one spoke to Elaine, not intentionally. It was just no one knew what to say. They were afraid that Elaine would turn her gaze on them and speak the truths they kept hidden. Elaine sat for a long time, finished her baked beans, cleaned up her plate, and walked home alone to the light blue house. She didn't understand what she had done wrong. Karen asked a question. She answered truthfully. The book club comments were true. Karen not listening was also true. What's wrong with the truth? She didn't understand. Watching all this was Julia. Julia is 25, a nurse at the town hospital, who moved to Fairview Estates 6 months ago. At the barbecue, she knew no one, and stood in the corner, holding a glass of lemonade. She saw everything, heard everything. As a nurse, Julia had seen the consequences of politeness, patients hiding symptoms, worsening their condition, families hiding diagnoses, leaving elderly people no time to prepare. She had always believed honesty was the greatest kindness. But that night, she saw that after Elaine told the truth, the entire community slowly, irreversibly sealed her out like a layer of ice. After the barbecue, it became more obvious. Karen stopped organizing events that included Elaine. She began hosting ladies' nights, the kind Elaine was never invited to. Neighbors gathered in Karen's backyard, and Elaine's house became the only one on the street with its lights off at night. No one bullied her, no one insulted her, no one threw trash on her lawn. It just disappeared, like a receding tide, slow, quiet, irreversible. Elaine still trimmed her roses every day, still went for a walk at 3 in the afternoon, still nodded and said good afternoon to passing neighbors. They would nod back and say good afternoon, then walk away quickly. No one stopped to chat. No one asked, "How are you?" because they were afraid she might actually answer. Julia noticed all of this. She wasn't part of the community's core, but she began to realize something. Everything Elaine said, every word was true. The book club really was a gossip circle. Karen really didn't listen. If those words were said privately, they might have been gentle reminders. But Elaine said them at a party, in front of everyone, in the wrong place. Julia began talking to Elaine. It's not just small talk at the door, but sitting on her porch steps and asking, "How was your day?" At first, Elaine was cautious. She thought Julia would ask and then leave like everyone else, but Julia stayed. She listened. Elaine told her that when she was younger, she had been a popular teacher. But later she realized that popularity came from giving students inflated grades. She decided to stop. From that day on, she became known as the harsh teacher. "I thought," Elaine said, looking at the trees, "if I just kept telling the truth long enough, people would eventually understand that I wasn't trying to hurt them. I was just not lying." Julia was silent for a long time. "But that's not how people work," she said softly. "People don't want truth. They want to feel safe." Elaine gave a bitter smile. "Then maybe I don't belong here," she said. 2 months later, one evening after work, Julia saw a U-Haul truck parked in front of Elaine's house. Movers were carrying furniture out. The rose bushes were still there, but the house was empty. Julia ran over and stopped Elaine in the driveway. "You're leaving?" Elaine turned around. She didn't look sad or angry. She looked calm, strange, lonely, calm. "I found a small apartment near the university," she said. "No neighbors, no block parties, no one asking me how I'm doing unless they actually want to know." Julia opened her mouth, wanting to say don't go. But she didn't, because she knew Elaine was right. The community no longer welcomed her. Not because she did something wrong, but because she did the right thing in the wrong setting. The truck drove away. The roses remained, but no one trimmed them anymore. Julia stood on the empty porch. She thought of the patients she had seen, those who collapsed after hearing harsh truths, and those who suffered because of gentle lies. She thought of Elaine. She thought of the barbecue. If Elaine had not said those things in front of everyone, but instead went to Karen's door the next morning with coffee and said quietly, "Hey, I noticed something. Can we talk privately?" Would things have been different? But Elaine would never do that. As Elaine believed, truth has no setting. This truth is truth. In this world, at least, this world disagreed. The truck disappeared around the corner. Fairview Estates returned to normal. Lawns neatly trimmed, children riding bikes, Mrs. Patterson watching from her window. Everything looked normal. Everything looked warm. Everything looked fake. Julia returned to her gray house, closed the door, and sat for a long time. She thought, Elaine went to a place with no neighbors. She can tell the truth now without hurting anyone. But no one will hear her truth anymore. Absolute honesty. Complete loneliness. I don't know how you feel after hearing this. You feel sorry for Elaine? Or do you think she got what she deserved? You think Julia should have done more? Or that she did what she could? There are no right answers. But there is one question I want to ask you. If someone like Elaine moved in next door to you, someone who never lies, who will tell you exactly what she thinks about your cooking, your haircut, your marriage, your parenting, would you invite her to your next barbecue? Or would you, quietly, without saying a word, make sure she never got an invitation? If someone like Elaine moved in next door to you, someone who never lies, who will tell you her true thoughts about your cooking, your hairstyle, your marriage, your parenting, would you invite her to your next barbecue? Or would you quietly, without saying a word, make sure she never receives an invitation? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you've ever been the Elaine, if you've ever told a hard truth in the wrong place and watched everyone walk away, just type one word below. Here, you're not alone. I'll see you in the next one.